timesheets by Neil A. Hogan.
Enough!
The human female threw her tablet against the crystal wall, and it snap-rolled shut, bouncing onto the equally crystal floor. She pushed her workstation up and jumped angrily to the bag retrieval area, her multi-heels clacking loudly as they struck the metal entrance mat. Jasper jumped away from his admin station and leaped after her, but not having put as much force into it, landed several meters distant as she exited the storage room, a large bag almost the size of her hanging from her back. For a moment he gaped. She was taking everything. Then he realized what that meant.
Mera, things will be different soon. Just a few more days. We need you. Please.
Mera adjusted her bag, checked the display on her left arm top, then snapped it closed and turned to him.
You have no idea, Jasper. I know you haven't been here long, but you should get out while you still can.
With a quick side leap, she slid through the nearby liquid door and was gone. CEO Jasper Simpkin stared at the reforming door, then turned to look in dismay at the empty space where Mera had been. Her workstation had begun to slowly lower again, ready for the next user. He had no idea where he'd get another human as good with checking bills, especially on this god-forsaken moon circling ProxiBee. Since he'd taken over, 5 of his human staff had left. Entity Resources said it was the stress of the wormhole burning away above them, but he had other ideas. Subsidiaries folding, laws changing, and a movement towards self-sustainment and away from massive corporations and their bloated systems were all taking their toll. A few of the aliens still sat, calmly swiping away, or whatever they did with whatever emotion they had, and a few of the AI continued to analyze, or whatever AIS did these days. Even so, he knew those entities were doing it purely for fun. They wanted to find out what working in a human-owned work system was like. The humans who had grown up with it knew they rarely had any other choice. As CEO, he couldn't waste time looking at all the tiny details everyone dealt with day to day. He had to keep focused on the big picture, otherwise the business canvas would quickly be shredded. Even so, this had been worrying him for a long time. And now, with Mera gone, Mera had been the last long-time face of IP. She'd worked there for over a year. For Slashies, that was a record. What could have made her leave so suddenly? He looked through the crystal wall to see Mera get into an aircar and fly off into the clouds. From her direction, he could tell she was heading for the spaceport. She wasn't coming back. He looked past her into the air that surrounded their terraformed ProxiBee moon, making out the faint flicker of the intergalactic wormhole, and shuddered. That amount of radiation from a tear in space-time not far away kept him awake at night. It was surrounded by a protective force field, but the slightest explosion, and he knew the moon would be fried. He quickly turned away and headed back to his station, then noticed Mera's tablet had rolled to a standstill nearby. As he picked it up and unfurled it, the last tab sprung to life, instantly connecting to the network and updating the record Mera had been looking at. The bill was for work conducted in the Large Magellanic Cloud, a mission his predecessor had overseen before leaving suddenly last month. The payment request must have just arrived. As soon as he saw the rising figures, he gasped. The statement was being updated in real time, adding expense after expense. Had there been a delay in receiving the bill? Is this why the previous CEO left? He didn't want to be part of this? Jasper did a quick calculation in his head. If the figures kept increasing at this rate, the company would be bankrupt within a year. Just then he heard one of the other account monitors hop towards him. What was his name? Kchkri or something? Ah, that's it. Cheeky.
You humans,
Squawked the balding multi-gender alien with fluttering lashes on 3 of his eyes.
Humans remaining must fix a problem made by humans who have left. Fascinating, it is. The last CEO left. This is why. Years, your kind have been doing this, yes?
Jasper grimaced but couldn't take his eyes off the rising figures. They just kept increasing, in every column.
Generations, usually,
he said. He tore his gaze away and looked at the bird-like alien.
We create a mess, then we let our descendants fix it, or replace it with a new mess. The last one took about 2,000 years to fix.
He ran his hand through his hair, briefly snagging on a network implant and wincing.
How is that relevant? And I don't think we have even 2,000 hours for this one. Cheeky, can you help me with this?
Large Magellanic Cloud mission. It is from, yes.
Jasper handed it to Shim.
You know about these.
Cheeky pointed at it with one of his 6 fingers.
Easy to access gas. Lot of credits in that. The previous CEO sent ships prospecting.
Jasper nodded.
Yes, it was all over the apps. But we hadn't heard anything, and I thought...
Cheeky cocked his head sideways, then pointed another finger.
You thought they died, or the business had sold the project. Not updated, so didn't happen.
But why are we getting bills but no gas?
Payment first, gas later, perhaps.
Jasper scratched his head.
But Cheeky, look,
Jasper pointed to the side column listing the dates.
they've only been gone about 30 days. Why is the bill already up to 90? Do they want to be paid for future bills first?
That's why. You humans, I said.
Cheeky attempted a shake of his head, which came out more like a circular movement.
Time is not the same the entire universe across. Only black holes change things, you think. Everywhere, every location, time is different. Some zones are identical and not noticeable. Others so much your grandchildren would become older than you.
Yes, I know. Sometimes we forget. But for God's sake, it's gone up to 120 days.
Cheeky just laughed.
Pay it. Immediately sell gas. Lots of credits.
Jasper looked at the 150-day bill and sighed. If the time speed on the other end of the wormhole was faster, he'd need to hire more staff to deal with the administration work. It didn't explain why Mera left, though, and with being on a high-speed gate loop network to Earth, she was uncontactable for the next 6 months. Of course, as their business owned the spaceport, the taxis, the restaurants, and just about any other piece of infrastructure on PB7, he could have just told the Uber ship not to launch, but the loss of profit would have been too high. And what reason did he have? Entity Resources would have been the first to tell him that all workers were free to come and go as they pleased. He headed to one of his quiet offices to think. If anything, it would give him a break from Cheeky's overpowering budgie cage smell. Jasper paid the bill when it hit 240 days, then plugged himself into the network against his wall and researched the situation. The only way for any company in the Interstellar Group to survive was for expenses to be lower than sales. It was such a simple equation. But if he didn't keep to this most basic and fundamental system, he'd have to give the business to the AIs. The entire moon would be stripped and repurposed in days. Not the best ending for a 1,000-year-old company. He had to find a way to save money quickly. He sent a thought out, and the system began retrieving relevant results that floated in pictures and data before his eyes. Around him, in this networked system, stars whirled and spun, adding color to an otherwise mundane data retrieval situation. Then again, not so mundane. Some of the stories the system had for him were quite surprising. A company in 2257-25 had created a nation near a black hole in a slightly slower time period and paid them from the profits they made in their normal time period. It meant that they could play with their finances a bit, as 300 days at head office was 200 days at the subsidiary. They always had more profit spare than they needed to spend. And the way they had set up production meant even though things were a bit slower to get, they still had enough produce to stay lucrative. Of course, the share market had to make adjustments for the different time speeds, and it ended up creating a new category for investors. Share prices plummeted across the galactic rim for a while, though some investors went to live in that new nation and watch their dividends roll in faster. Jasper sighed. Interesting, but it didn't really help him, and the system confirmed what he had been worried about. Apart from reverse investments from tiny nations around black holes, there wasn't any evidence of a business dealing with something like this. But the conclusions were obvious. Initial share price increase followed by a rezoning of the business and a share price drop. With credits paid from company profits, it might have explained Mera's quick resignation. The writing was on the wall, his company was bleeding money, and soon it would be terminal. He couldn't pay 8 months' worth of bills every month. Even so, none of this made sense. Outer arm of the galaxy, standard gravity and time speed. Barely any time speed differences for parsecs around. There was no way the time speed on the other end of the wormhole could be this fast. They'd only left 30 days ago. Then it occurred to him. This can't be a time issue. It's got to be something more basic, like a hacking. That's it. They'd been hacked, and someone had just made billions. He had to stop the bill from increasing again. The only possible short-term solution was to somehow cut off the team in the LMC, or at the very least, get them back here as soon as possible, and write off the losses. Then they could employ investigators to research the hack. As each of the bills were encrypted with the unique prime number signature that only the miners knew, he could only surmise that someone on the team had released the information. Now it made sense. Patting himself on the back, he quickly looked about the virtual reality data world for any other last-minute pieces of information that might be useful, and was about to be distracted by a brain-tingle ad when a lady in a glowing white gown stood in front of it looking directly at him. The system confirmed she was AI-36, one of the last of the autonomous caretakers. His immersion in numbers and facts changed to floating against a backdrop of the Taurus Nebulae on the one side, and the Milky Way galaxy on the other. The lady lithely took her seat on a white metal chair. A wrought iron table materialized next to her, complete with a drink. Jasper stared at her, incredulously. The AI chuckled, lifting the wide, cone-shaped glass to her lips.
You know, the Magellanic Clouds are off-limits to humans, by order of the High Council.
Jasper pursed his lips.
I'm the new CEO of Interstellar Prospecting, and I know nothing about that.
Ah, the new fall guy. Yes, one of the previous CEOs fell on his sword about that scandal involving selling the individual stars of a binary group to warring factions.
Jasper almost coughed.
Quite literally, I remember. Nanoscale metal. People couldn't work out how he was floating in the middle of the room until his momentum sliced him diagonally.
The AI nodded, her blonde hair floating across her face as though she was underwater.
An interesting death. He told me on the way out he was quite happy with that one. He might come back as a girl next time and try for an old-fashioned karoshi. Planning any children?
What? No. Just, can you help with this? I paid the bill at 240 days, and we still haven't heard from the ships. I think I've been tricked, and we've been hacked.
You haven't, you know. That bill is real.
But faster time speeds. We're the fastest. Heavier the mass, the slower the time. This area is quite light, considering we're nowhere near any black holes.
The AI chuckled again and swept her hand across to indicate the Milky Way around them.
What about an average time speed? Compare the mass of our galaxy with the mass of the LMC.
A what? Oh no.
Oh, yes.
The AI waved a hand with fluorescent nails, and the galaxy shrank, with the Large Magellanic Cloud appearing beside it. She pointed.
Parts of the Milky Way may not have much mass, but the overall galactic mass means, relatively, time is slower here. Your company sent a group of people to another galaxy that has less mass and is much smaller. In comparison, relatively, their time is faster overall.
But if I paid the workers there the same rate that I'm paying them here, our company will be bankrupt within a month.
The AI waved away the image, then changed her clothes to be old-fashioned jeans and a t-shirt tied in the middle.
Do you remember the 21st century?
Jasper began to get frustrated. How was this relevant?
No, why?
The best way to do business is to pay in the local currency. Many businesses would use their higher value currency to pay for services in lower value currency areas. That way, the basic formula for business would still work.
Jasper breathed heavily. Perhaps he could jump, even on this lower gravity moon, if he got high enough. No, he'd find a way.
But those ships are from here, essentially still a higher value currency area. Galactic credits, the highest there is. What other choice is there?
I smiled kindly.
You're getting too flustered to think clearly. Of course, your credits are for use in the Milky Way, young Jasper. Other credits are used in other places. You just accessed the financial report for Extractions R Us. What did they do?
He could see where she was going with this.
They set up a nation and created their own credit value for their time, speed, and resource use.
Jasper paused as he thought about this. It could work.
I could advise my team in the LMG to create an autonomous location with basic award rates. I wouldn't have to lay off workers here to be able to pay the workers there.
I'll send you my bill.
Jasper raised an eyebrow.
Really?
How else can I afford this virtual martini? An interesting chat. Goodbye.
But wait, why you? You haven't been heard of in years.
The AI briefly reappeared.
I've already ascended, become an actual living entity with a spirit. You could say I'm quasi-physical, 1 foot in your reality and one in the next. Sometimes, when I know there'll be a lot of people transitioning, I appear to help them.
She winked at him, then faded away again.
Enjoy the rest of your life.
Jasper had no time to be thinking about the AI's cryptic speech. He had to save the company. He found the off icon and activated it, and the data images disappeared from his eyes. He glanced at the tablet and was disappointed to see the bill was now 360 days, and the AI had convinced him it wasn't a hack. It was a real bill, almost an Earth year now. A year of pay for 3 ships, 112 people, resources, medical support, and it was still increasing. What could they have been doing for over a year? He knew it would take a while to set up a colony, position the energy fields around the clouds of gas, begin funneling the gas to the wormhole. They'd gone there with everything they needed for 2 years, and enough resources to set up more permanent facilities to cover any delivery delays. With the early bills paid, deliveries would be launched through the wormhole tomorrow, and then... Wait, 112 people? He glanced at the bill again, and the colour drained from his face. He was sure it wasn't. It had been lower. It should have been only 98. Where'd the extra people come from? Then the number of employees increased to 113, then 114. He couldn't help but blurt it aloud.
Oh no. Company policy strictly states no fraternization between...
But there was no other possibility. He had to consider their side of it. No response for a year. No way back unless they got one. They'd settled. They might have even started a town. The company would collapse. As he sank slowly to the crystal floor, his hands covering his face, he had the strangest feeling that he had missed something. 180 quadrillion kilometers away, in a gaseous nebula inside the Large Magellanic Cloud, a farmer was spraying recently created water from the hydrogen and oxygen tanks on a plain of vegetables. The hose had been woven from bits of old material and leaked in places, but he was proud of what they'd achieved in a year with it. The tomatoes were coming along quite nicely. A young woman came over to him and placed her hand on his shoulder, then gave him a kiss on the cheek.
Hello, lover. Saichan is sleeping now, so I've asked Jasper to look after her, so I could come and give you the great accounting news in person.
The farmer almost dropped the hose.
No, you're not serious. Have they really?
The woman's eyes had filled with tears, and she pulled out a tablet to show him.
Paid. Well, the first 8 months. And they're sending the supplies we requested, including lots of new hoses for the farms.
The farmer turned the hose off and took the tablet in his shaking hands.
That's it then. They haven't forgotten us. We can start sending the gas back, transfer data packets, samples, those two for reburial.
The woman nodded, then she hugged him.
We're not alone anymore. I can find out what has happened to my, well, you know.
The farmer nodded solemnly.
We need to contact our families and let them know about a few changes.
Several days later, and the first month of gas collection had begun to be shipped to the wormhole. No cargo ships were needed, as each space tanker was fitted with its own directional EM drive. After only a few minutes in the wormhole, it would emerge and be taken quickly by the company for processing. Even though they hadn't heard from PB7, ProxiBee, or even a government representative from Earth for over a year, they had continued extracting the gas and storing it for shipping. With their contract lasting 2 years, no one was really that concerned that there hadn't been much contact. Businesses come and go, staff change, governments investigate, find out something that had been missed, and families make inquiries which can lead to search and rescue parties. They knew they'd hear eventually. Although after almost a year, they had started to lose hope. The recent payment gave the community a renewed vigor, and new projects that had stalled waiting for missing parts relaunched again. Within a few days, they had been able to get the rest of the past 8 months of gas collection into the wormhole. With only a few cargo ships left, they were hoping that they would return them pretty quickly so that they could send more. But then something unexpected happened. The farmer's lover came running across the fields to him. He could see the distress in her face and ran towards her.
Is it Sai-chan? Is she all right?
She's fine. It's not that. Look at this.
She showed him a page on the tablet.
Their payment?
Yes, but when was it paid?
The farmer stared at the date.
That can't be right.
You know what it means?
If they paid it 30 days later, why did it take a year for the information to get to us through the wormhole? Why the delay?
He shook his head, not wanting to know what it meant, but starting to understand. It had been unusual that there hadn't been any contact in a year, even though they'd sent a number of signals through. He'd suspected the company had gone bankrupt, but even then, governments usually kept track of missing explorers. She swiped through pages on the tablet.
It's not just that. Look, they sent news packets as well from that time. And the deliveries are also stamped with the same date. There is no aging of any of the stuff we've received. Either it's been stuck for a year in the wormhole, or...
We're in a fast time field, and a year to us is 30 days to them.
The woman nodded, wringing her hands.
We're out of time, darling. We can't send anyone back for a visit if we need them here. And no one is going to come if they know the time speed is different.
The farmer looked sadly at his lover.
Well,
He said.
I guess we can make this relationship official then.
She hugged him and held him tightly, wondering how their company was going to deal with this now. On PB7, only minutes later, Jasper scratched his head, trying to work out what the AI had alluded to. Something was wrong. What did she say? That she helped people transition? She was expecting people to die? From what? He stared at the bill in his hands. The answer must be here. Paying it and sending the deliveries meant that the colony would know contact had been re-established and the credits had been received. They would instantly begin sending the gas back through the wormhole in their cargo ships. But if they didn't know they were living in a faster timeline, and they send everything they have, even if they sent one ship a day, that would equate to...
Shit.
He ran for the door, leaving his bag behind. There was no time left.
Cheeky,
He called out as he dived through the liquid.
you're in charge. Get everyone out.
Cheeky's mouths dropped open, and then they closed again as the accountant saw Jasper heading to an aircar.
All right, everyone, get to this spaceport. I don't think we have much time.
Just as the staff began throwing up their stations and jumping for their bags, a bright light lit the sky, and the crystalline walls shattered from the shockwave into a million pieces. The staff didn't have time to worry about the cuts as, moments later, the plasma blast reached them, frying the entire side of the moon in moments.
That's our home galaxy,
Said the farmer, pointing.
It's a bit faint, though, but that's where we came from, 6 years ago.
Does it move?
Oh, a little every year. Not so much that you'd notice. This planet is tidally locked, thanks to the wormhole.
He pointed at a flickering light just beyond one of the moons.
Will we go back?
One day, but we have a mission.
He pointed at the sweeping plains of hydroponically managed produce around them.
Build a civilization.
Is that why there are 47 kids in my class?
That's right. We're here to create a new Earth.
What happened to old Earth?
You ask a lot of questions.
Saichan pulled on her frizzy hair and smiled, twisting about, waiting for an answer.
Our mistake. It took them almost a year to pay us for the first bill, so we started sending the gas back that moment. But then a few days later, we noticed the payment date. It was just 30 days after we left.
What happened?
Time delay. Essentially, we sent a year's worth of gas extraction back, probably in the equivalent of 1 day for them. That amount of gas under pressure in multiple cargo ships transmitted from another time speed, well, the wormhole would have had no choice but to explode. It would have been like a mini nova.
So, is Earth dead?
Oh no, that planet is 4 light years from the wormhole. Now it's a lot farther away for us. We'll train you kids to build new ships, and your children can begin work on reopening the other end of the wormhole. A few generations, and we'll be back.
What then?
Well, I guess we'll find the new CEO and personally hand in our timesheets.